I just helped an Airbnb company managing over 50 different properties use these new AI agents to save over $80,000 a year. This AI can answer questions like, how do I turn off the AC? Can I check in early? What is the Wi-Fi password? Everything property specific. But this is just the surface. It speaks over 5 different languages, runs 24/7 and can handle up to 10 calls at once. And it sounds so human that I can actually raise maintenance tickets, send calendar links and internal notifications in real time. In 2025, everybody talked about AI, but in 2026, you're going to be competing against people actually using it in their operations. So to help you prepare, I'm first of all going to show you a live demo. Second, how much money and time this actually saves. And third, how to use these new AI agents to future-proof your operation before the competition wakes up. If you are new to the channel, then welcome. My name is Liam. We've worked with small businesses up to 8-figure companies to help them use AI the right way and see these crazy results. The reason I say this is because I want you to know that all of these numbers come from experience and we actually know what we're talking about. So that being said, let's dive right into the live demo.
Welcome to How can I help you today?
My name is Liam. I have a problem with my microwave.
Sorry to hear about the trouble with your microwave, Liam. Could I
Sprichst
please
du auch
have your
Deutsch? Kann ich mit dir
reservation
auch Deutsch weitersprechen?
ID? Klar, ich kann auf Deutsch weitermachen.
Hola,
Mir
español?
bitte Por supuesto, puedo continuar en español.
Alright, no, it's good. Let's continue in English. So my washing machine, the problem that not the washing machine, sorry, the microwave. The problem is it turns on, but it doesn't heat.
Thank you for clarifying, Liam. I can help you with your microwave issue. Before we proceed, could you please provide your reservation ID?
Sure, it's 5789.
Thank you. Just confirming your reservation ID is 5789. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Let me quickly check on that. Thanks, Liam. Here's what you can try. Make sure the microwave door is fully closed. Remove any metal items from inside. Heat a cup of water for 1 minute to test if it warms up. If it's still not working, would you like me to raise a maintenance ticket for you?
Yeah, let me try real quick.
Sure, take your time. Let me know how it goes. If it still doesn't work, we can get
Yeah, no,
maintenance
it still doesn't work, unfortunately.
Sorry about that, Liam. Would you like me to raise a maintenance ticket for the microwave issue? If yes, is it okay for our maintenance team to enter the property when you are not home?
That's alright. Yeah, I'm home all day, so that's fine.
Great. So, just a second, and I'll have that all sorted out for you. Thanks, Liam. I've raised a maintenance ticket for your microwave issue. You'll receive a text to pick a time for the host or maintenance team to come by. Is there anything else I can help you with today?
That's good. Thanks so much. Bye-bye. Great, so how cool was that? The AI actually texted me a link. And as you can see, this is just a normal calendar link where I can actually pick the time when they want to come past, which is pretty cool. So I can put in my details and actually choose the time, which is great. But over and above that, it also sent an email internally. And I'm going to explain how all of this works in just a second. As you can see here, moderate urgency maintenance. And then, hey, we have a moderate urgency maintenance ticket for Liam Titchens. He is in property Avenida Los Plareros 8. This is the problem. Microwave turns on but doesn't heat. Guest has tried troubleshooting and issue persists. Best AI Jack. How cool is that? So, yeah, I mean, there's not really much more to say than that. I'm going to show you exactly how all of this is set up in just a moment. It looks very technical, but I'm going to try and break it down in a simple to understand way. But the very first thing that I want to show you is how much money and time does this actually save? Like, what are some of the results that we've seen for our clients? So if we take a look at this, then what we do is I'm going to have to blur out these phone numbers, of course. And just a quick disclaimer, these are very accurate numbers, but for the sake of company privacy, like I've blurred out all the data, but in case you happen to recognize them, these are not the exact results, but they're very close, right? So just to keep everything private. And what we do after the call ends, we send a little bit of code to this dashboard over here, which we've built. And what this does is it actually includes things like when did it happen, what time, what category was this, right? So the AI categorizes this. Was it a booking? Was it maintenance? Was it a question? Was it a cancellation? Like, everything is categorized. And then based on that data, we can now evaluate this. And this is where it gets cool. So over here, you can see that we have about 43% maintenance. And this is over the course of 1 year, right? The projections. 20% bookings with the AI. Then we have 24% of people calling it for a question, right? Just things like, what's the nearest cafe? Or am I allowed to bring some friends into the property past midnight? Or, those kind of things. Some cancellations as well. And failure rates as well. We track these too. So as you can see, we have close to a 4% failure rate. Now, real quick to clarify, what does failure mean? Failure, in our words, one thing that never happens is that the AI goes, I'm evil, let me take over, and it refunds all the guests, right? Like, that can't happen. I'm going to show you the security guardrails. But failure for us means that the AI actually has to transfer to a human. Like, it has the ability at any time to take the caller and transfer them to a real human who can help them resolve this issue, right? And that means that obviously the AI had a gap in its system, there was a gap in its tools, there was something that it can't do yet, and we analyze these very closely at the end of every month, right? But it's not perfect, right? I'm not going to pretend like it's perfect. But it is very, very good. So let me show you the results. Over the course of the year, this company was getting around 100 phone calls a day. As I said, they were quite large, so at scale, this is, of course, even more valuable. And they were paying a team, I think, around $8,000 a month to handle all of these phone calls, maintenance requests, and so on. Now, here are the AI results. The AI took about 34,000 phone calls during the year, which is, I think, a little bit less than 100 phone calls a day on average. We gave the AI, this is just the usage spend for the AI, around 10,000, so it only costs a little, it's like $900 a month to run, which is crazy cheap compared to the 8,000 that they were paying the human team. And it saved overall close to 4,000 human labor hours. Like, this is actual data, right? Like, this is crazy, which means if you translate this into savings with a 4% failure rate, right, rounded up, instead of paying them, I think 8,000 times 12 months is around 90 something thousand, but with a 4% failure rate, this means that we save the company really very close to $80,000 every single year. And of course, Airbnb companies, you guys scale like crazy, right? So this is only going to get more. And the guest satisfaction, you can listen back to the call as well. If you're in the US, you're allowed to record the calls in most cases. So you can actually listen to how the customers react, which is something that we also track and evaluate. So yeah, I hope this data speaks for itself. If you would like to work with me, there is a link down below to book a free AI consultation call where I can walk you through what this would look like for your company. We custom build everything, so there is only 3 spots available for this video. I hope to see you in there. And now let's dive into the technical part of this video. So how is this actually built? I would like to start with an overview that is a bit less technical than this, just for you to understand some of the guardrails and some of the safety things that we put in. So a really important thing for you to understand is how we actually build the AI, that we don't give it full system access. Because one of the biggest questions we always get asked is, what happens if the AI goes evil, right? What happens if it just leaks all guest data? What happens if it gives the guests room codes that they're not allowed to have, and so on? So I quickly want to explain 2 scenarios here. We've got one AI over here, right? And then we give that AI access to your email and your I don't know, your some documents, right, with property info so it can answer the questions. And then we give it information on, for example, I don't know, maybe some like databases with room codes, or just basically we give it raw access to everything. And then the AI can take actions, it can send emails, it can do what I just showed you, right? Cool. Problem is super unstable, very insecure. What if the AI makes a mistake and it uses all tools at once, and then it refunds a bunch of guests, right? And with this setup, yes, it can happen. So the reason why we don't do this is exactly why I just explained, right? It's too unstable. So instead what we do is we have the AI, and instead of giving it raw access to be able to do everything in an email, we give it extremely limited access in the form of workflows. So each workflow represents one action. So we would have one workflow, for example, for searching for a customer, checking if that customer has booked a stay, checking if that customer has access to a specific room code, for example, and only if it does, then we actually send the email, right? And all the AI needs to do is initiate this workflow. That's all it does. So the AI, we wanted to do the speaking, the talking. It should just decide which workflow should be executed, but it doesn't actually have any power to do anything that's outside of this fixed workflow that you've established. Right, so I hope that made sense. It's basically only controlling fixed processes that you've already put in place that you know are safe. We can do the same thing for checking for property information, right? We would tell the AI, okay, trigger this workflow, which searches for the guest by the reservation ID, for example. It searches for the reservation ID. Then it checks, has this guest filled out all the legal forms yet? Have they paid? And so on. If they haven't, then it stops, right? It says, sorry, I can't help you, or transfers them to a human. But if they do, then you're allowed to retrieve the documents, right? And then you're allowed to actually send that back and give the human an answer to their question. And this is so good to understand because A, the data privacy and the like all of the aspects in terms of leaking data or the AI taking actions it's not supposed to take is just limited. It's hugely limited to the things that you know are safe, right? So I hope that made sense. In a nutshell, this is how we build the AIs. And you're also going to see that in the workflows over here, right? These are fixed workflows that the AI has access to. And it's not like it can just do whatever it wants. It can only execute a fixed workflow. And this is how they are so reliable, right? And that this is the exact reason why we can actually use them to replace workflows and SOPs in your company that humans would have to do otherwise, right? And that's the power of this. So now, the way we build this in reality is first of all, we have two softwares for this. We have N8N, which is the automation builder, right? On N8N, we build these automations on N8N. And then the AI itself lives on a software called Vappy. And Vappy is very cool, right? If you've never seen Vappy before, let me give you a quick overview. So in Vappy, what you can do is you can build an assistant that looks like this, and you can choose the model, for example, GPT 4.1. Then you can choose what does the assistant say as like a welcome message, for example, and then you have a prompt, right? Then you can also choose the voice. There's literally tens, if not hundreds of thousands of voices you can choose from. You can set this to multilingual, for example. It's a little more difficult than just clicking a button, but there's the option, of course. And then it has tools in here, right? And these are the tools that it has access to actually click and execute the workflows. So let's walk you through the prompt, because the prompt in this case is quite interesting. We use a software called Stack Edit to do our prompts, because what we want to give the AI is a prompt in markdown formatting, which means that we have these hashtags and bullet points. And what this means is that the AI can then see it like it's on the right. You know, this is what the AI sees. But if we don't format this correctly, right, the AI won't know that this is a headline and it'll get all jumbled up, which is why we use this, so we can catch our mistakes. Now, one of the first things we do is check this. You don't know anything or can't help with anything except for what is in your tool calls and prompts, right? And this is great because GPT 4.1, for example, which we used for this, it's very smart, right? It's been trained on the whole internet. So we need to limit it somehow. And a good way to do this is basically to tell the AI you're stupid, you don't know anything, and only know what comes afterwards, right, in the prompt and in the tools. And this little line alone removes so many hallucinations. And we've put that in the bottom and the beginning because that's what the AI prioritizes most in a prompt. Then we have a few things like, this is your role, you work here at this Airbnb company. This is your context, for example, right? You're telling it you are in a voice call interaction. This is the current time, right? This gets replaced, for example, as I'm filming this, it's the 21st of the 11th, 2025, and the time is 12:52. And this way the AI actually knows if a guest asks, can you come tomorrow and take a look at my problem? It knows that it should tell your team that they should come on the 22nd, for example, right? Super important. Then what we've told it is specifics on how it's supposed to respond, like don't ask the same question twice and so on. And then there's agent roles. So we have two only in this case, which is answering questions and requesting maintenance. So there's a lot more in this that I've just taken out for the demo, like bookings and refunds and all that stuff. But effectively, correct, this is all we need for the demo, which is answering questions. We first of all ask for the reservation ID. Then we repeat it back to the customer, and then we use the tool Information Airbnb. And what this tool is, let me see if I can show you. Here, Information Airbnb, we tell the AI, use this tool to answer all questions. And then what we do is we extract the question from the call and the reservation ID. And what's cool here is that there's a little mini AI in these, which extract these from the conversation and then sends those over here into this workflow, Right? This is where the magic happens, because then this workflow, and I can't go into this because it would leak some company data I can't show, but this basically sends the question and the reservation ID here, and now it's just a workflow, right? We check, does this guest exist, right? Then what we do is we see, for example, okay, in this case, Liam, I was staying in a specific property. Let me get the knowledge base for that specific property, because we can't just throw all of the knowledge into one AI and it'll get confused, right? So we have to break it down. And I showed you this briefly in the example, and I'm going to have to blur out all of these property names, unfortunately, but these are all knowledge bases for properties here, and they look something like this on the right. We've built a custom dashboard for this company so they can edit this themselves, but the AI will only then get access to a very specific knowledge base for a specific property, which is really cool. And then we send that into Gemini, which is the next AI model, and that AI model's only task is to answer the question. And as you can start to see, we're outsourcing quite a lot of decision making away from this initial AI, because this initial AI has enough to do with choosing which workflow and responding to the customer in many languages and so on. This mini AI here with Gemini replies and writes the answer, and that gets sent back to our main AI. And then we also have a filter. If this question couldn't be answered, we send that and we track it so that we can over time improve the knowledge base as well. Right, so that's just one example of how reliable this is and how we limit this. Same thing happens with requesting maintenance, right? We first of all try to answer the question using the questions flow. If it can't be answered, we ask, are we allowed to enter the property if you're not home? And then based on the response, we use the maintenance tool, which will basically extract what was the problem, right? Why does something not work? As you can see here, we have the problem and then the reservation ID, and then they get sent into here. We once again check, does this reservation exist? If it doesn't, we say, sorry, it's the wrong reservation ID. But if it does, then we have another AI model here. So this text classifier, what it does is we've given it a few examples of moderate versus urgent or not urgent scenarios. So for example, a microwave on fire would be very urgent, in which case it would classify it as urgent. It would go up here, send an urgent message, and then also send an SMS to the customer, right? And basically send an email which would say very urgent maintenance request. Then next thing, if it's a moderate request like an ours, it would send an email saying this is a moderate request. It would retrieve the property calendar, so each property has a specific calendar page, once again, where the customer can book, and then it would send that as an SMS like you saw in the demo to me. And if it's not a very urgent one, then we just send an internal email and say, look, we're going to come whenever we have time, because, for example, maybe toilet paper missing is not the biggest problem. They can go and buy some, right? Great. So this is also really important to understand, that we break things down into smaller AI models and try not to achieve everything with one, but we have 3 AIs in this case working together to achieve one large task. So yeah, that's basically the foundations and the fundamentals of how we build these AIs. We try to make this as user-friendly as possible, with dashboards like this. This is the only thing that you as the client at the end see as the company. You of course have your property info here, so you can easily edit your property knowledge bases. You can easily add more properties to your portfolio as well. Like, this has to scale with you, of course. And we've really tried to take all of that into account. So if you found this interesting, make sure to book a free AI consultation call down below. I'd love to help your company out in a similar way, and I will see you in the next video.